Mhm. Board, 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 board. Games. Board games, it's what I'm talking about in some manner. Board games and people, I'm not gonna shout. Today, I guess I'll be kind of talking a trigger warning about people dying. Yesterday, I went to a funeral. I guess I'm grieving. That's where I'm wearing white, and I'll be explaining that anyway. I'm gonna talk about how we know anything. This is a complex process. It's just the beginning. And do we know anything so well? I guess that's a thing that we're gonna tell. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is. Welcome, hello, wherever you are. It is 10 a.m. UK time, which means it's time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. So today I am talking about how well do we know anything? How well do we know anyone? It's a discussion inspired by a conversation I had yesterday at a funeral. Obviously, I'm not going to be talking about grisly details, but this topic is going to touch upon death and everything. So I felt like I should have the trigger warning there. Now, to address in case anyone's wondering, why am I wearing white? Well, yesterday I discovered that actually the traditional color for Zoroastrians to wear at a funeral is white because it's meant to be almost a celebration of their life, remembering the things. And although it's not a joyful moment, of course, there's grief and there's a very real sense of loss and there's a sadness about it. There's also a real um, remembrance of the person. And that's why today I am wearing white to honor family, friend, and distant relative. And it was a wonderful funeral. It was very respectful. And yeah, that's it. Tomorrow it will be back to normal and I will be wearing red and it'll be a more normal show. Let me crack on with all the bits. So recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. I did not play any games yesterday. I Since I did my stream, w- got I met my parents, I put on a suit, I went to the funeral. It was a lovely remembrance. There was music, there was things to celebrate all parts of their life, and it was a really wonderful thing. Um, I arranged to meet a member of the family maybe in 2 months, 3 months. I'll see, like, after UK Games Expo, basically. I'll get in touch and try to head over to see how they're doing. Um, on the way back, saw some airplanes, which was lovely. Cycled back, that was nice. I actually felt an immense sense of relief. I felt, yes, it's a sad time. Yes, this is not something that I would have wished to happen. But at the same time, it is a time to say, yes, we're all together. They have done all these things, and to consider maybe definitely not for the final time. Their presence will echo throughout time, but at least one moment to dedicate the date, dedicate few an hour or a couple of hours or a few hours. And, there was some prayers from the Gathas, which most people couldn't understand, but it allowed for some time for meditation, for reflection, for internal pondering, and that was a lovely thing. And so that for me is a brilliant thing. When someone goes, yes, it is a tragedy, but I think that the brilliant thing there is being able to celebrate their life, remember all the positive that they have brought into the world. Hopefully, they have brought positives into the world. And look, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk ill about the dead. When there are a couple of people that when they die, I will say, well, frankly, good riddance. Although I probably wouldn't say anything. That doesn't feel like the right time to say that. Although, if you ask me about, there are a few people in this world that I think, yeah, they are damaging to society. But the point is that so many people are wonderful people, and to have people who are able to remember them, to have people who are able to talk about them after they go. I can only hope that when I go, there's whether people are there or not, I hope that, I mean, I leave it marginally better than if were to kill myself right now or if I didn't exist. Or I hope that it would be I hope that I'm making life marginally better by existing. And I would like to believe that at my funeral, there would be some people who would miss me and come and say nice things and hopefully celebrate a rounded picture of. And so, yes, this individual who I am still kind of grieving for was very scientific. They had a wonderful mind. They had, yeah, they didn't have blind faith in religion. They really studied religion. They were amazing. Like they had a mind that made them analyze everything. They had the sort of minds that made them laugh, made them able to do self-deprecation, to enjoy games. I mean, we had quite a few chats about chess and at the funeral, but they were, chess isn't a game that I can win against someone who does it brilliantly. But anyway, the point is that they were a lovely individual, and being able to make space to remember someone like that is a brilliant friend. Hello, Rob. Yes, someone is dead, and that's why I am grieving by wearing white. Thank you very much for being here. And yeah, that was that. That was the funeral yesterday. So feel free to comment, ask questions from like follow. I'm not going to talk about the in identity of the individual because I don't like talking about other is it a non-public figure? I mean, you could probably trace them to me. Yeah, you know what? Ask me, and if it feels too personal, I will refuse to answer. But feel free to comment, ask questions, and do the whole from like follow. Anyway, so thank you for the commiserations and respect. I want to get back to the main topic, which is inspired by something that someone asked me yesterday. They asked me, the first thing that someone sat down beside me when we were waiting to go in. I was sitting down, they sat beside me, I said hello, and then they didn't say anything. And then a minute later, I thought maybe they didn't hear me. They looked at me and I said hello, and they said hello, and they asked me where I was from. I said I was Glasgow. They said, no, I mean, where are you originally from? Which I don't like that question, to be honest. But I said Iran. They said, oh, yes, me too. And I was, the truth is, I expected 99% of people there to be Iranian in heritage. So it was a weird question. Anyway, so the second question that they asked me, which was, they asked me, did you know this person? And again, for me, that was a weird question. Although later at the wake, someone suggested that maybe it was because a few people might have come just because they knew of this person. Like, yeah, because this individual had spoken in many places about religion and was very well respected. So, but it still felt a bit weird. Do you know this person? And so I was kind of taken aback, and maybe I got a bit defensive because I was like, the truth is, no, I didn't know them as well as I would have liked. I didn't know them, and I My second memory in my life, my first ever memory, if you want to know, is of a ZX Spectrum loading screen going, and then siblings eventually playing a game. My second memory in my life is of going to their home, um, the deceased and their wife, and I think their children may have or may not have been there, but I didn't really want to go in. I ended up following a cat in, and yeah, there was so much kindness, and I saw them regularly, but they were very much a family friend. It wasn't like I would ever go and visit on my own. I would go and visit with the family. I would go and visit as part of a group. I was there when they facilitated a concert for a Santur player who was a refugee at the time. And it was fantastic. I was there when, their children were getting married. I felt like I was kind of embraced as part of the family, as being this distant sort of family. It was like, we felt a lot closer than we were. And it was, and the truth is, I can talk about how intelligent they are, how they like to laugh, but these are glimpses of memories. And I don't know. Well, did I know them? It's not a yes or no question, is it? But when someone asks you that, obviously, you don't go into a long tirade about a long monologue. But that is the kind of question that needs like an hour of discussion, frankly. Did you know someone? Well, I knew them in glimpses, I knew them in snatches, I knew them in moments. I had a feel of them. I will miss their presence, but the truth is that if I hadn't seen them for over 10 years, and it could have been, there's nothing to say that I would have necessarily seen them ever again. And that, and I feel bad about that. And so maybe I was feeling a little bit guilty. And I guess that's the question that I kind of want to generally pose. It's like we don't really know anyone like really perfectly, do we? And it is all a question of time. As we move away from people, our lives change. As I went there, like people who know me through board games, probably, unless you just know my name on a box that you've um, bought, like maybe I've got these boxes here, Bez, and then you're like, oh, that's a person, it's a real person, but they might not know anything about me. Most people know I'm a trans woman, but like at the funeral, that wasn't a thing that people would have been aware of. I didn't know what was going in Shorroch's life in the past 10 years, except for from snatches from afar. And I like to extrapolate things to board games because this is ostensibly a board game show. And I I think that by the same token, I mean, obviously board games are not people, and people actually have feelings, people have needs. Board games, you can give a board game to someone else and you don't have to feel guilty. If you're not playing a board game and you think that someone else would enjoy it, just give it to them. But you can't do that with people. You can't say, well, I'm not enjoying your presence. Hey, go over and be friends with that person. That's a really crummy thing, shitty thing to do. I'm going to say the word. I think that would be obviously, like, that's obviously board games and people are completely different. But there is still the sense that we don't have enough time to get to know things. We don't have enough time to get to know people. I think that maybe we do have to become more efficient at reaching out, at making sure that when we're together, we're actually with each other. When we're with other people, let's not be going onto social media or whatever. Let's actually be present in that moment. When we're, you know, I go on to Twitter or Facebook quite a lot, but when I'm going onto Twitter or Facebook, I'm going to try and be okay. This is when I'm going to go onto Twitter or Facebook. I'm going to try and do that with deliberate, conscious, in a deliberate way, and maybe I'll try and make sure that there's only so many times that I go on and try to take notice of the things around us, take notice of the people, have meaningful connections. I mean, yeah, we could it again trying to push it towards board games. We we could learn board games better. We could play them 100 times, and most board games will improve as you play them more and more. We don't have time, and we've got to be okay with that. Um, and just like people and board games, you can choose to go off and get to know everyone, or but then you don't form any deep connections. I think it's okay to have lots of loose connections and then a couple of deep connections. But I do think that, those deep connections, not just with people, not just with board games, but with everything in life, I think that that's something that I would like to encourage myself, my future self. That's going to be something that I try to remember, that I'm not saying, oh my gosh, I should have spent more time with this person, because there's plenty of other things I did in the past 10 years. And maybe I wouldn't have had time if I was always trying to go to all the, Zoroastrian meetings, or go to their home, or, hang out. It's not always possible to do everything. But yeah, yeah, that's I guess what I'm saying is that we want to have lots of loose connections, but also a few deep connections, whether that's with people, with games, or indeed with the natural world, and let's be present in the moment. Morning, James. Thank you for the comment. James says, Morning, Bez. Sorry for your loss. From what you say, it sounds like you were made to feel you had to justify your presence at a funeral. That's how it felt. I don't think that's necessarily how it was intended. I think the person might have just been really bad at making conversation. James continues, It's always a personal thing. You pay your respects and grieve in your own way, and there's no right or wrong. It's just what is personal to you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And Stream Elements is reminding me to turn around, and then I'm going to probably finish up this stream kind of early. Yeah, so let's go and do question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. So my question of the day is, this might sound quite bizarre, but when was the last time you danced in public? By which I mean not in somewhere where you had to pay to get in. So actually, you know what? When was the last time you danced not in your home and not in a place specifically for dancing? That's what I want to know. When was the last time that you danced on the street, on the underground, in the park? Have you ever done such a thing? And if you haven't, what would you think of someone doing such a thing? The truth, and again, this is going to sound incredibly weird, is that yesterday, I again, I don't have to justify this, but I cried a lot. I think I hope it goes without saying that, you know, I have utmost respect for the deceased. Afterwards, um, after the wake, coming back home, I felt a sense of lightness. I felt a sense of we can move on. I felt a sense of thank goodness I'm here. I felt a sense of relief in some sense. I felt joy. I know that's a really weird feeling, but that is how I felt. And so I listened to some music, and on the underground, I wasn't like going full blown dancing, but I was kind of dancing, and I was feeling, just embracing this music. But it's not like someone dies and you have to be sad forever. Pay your respects. Remember the happy times. And I know, but yeah, hello to me. I'm just grieving, which is why I'm wearing white. And the question of the day is, have you ever danced in like public, by which I mean not your own home and not a place specifically for dancing? Have you ever done that, danced on the streets, on the park, or whatever? And if you have, when was the last time you did it? The last time I did it was yesterday. If you have not done it, then my question to you is, um, how would you feel if you saw someone doing that? Would it lighten your day? Would it make you smile, or would it kind of, yeah, offend you? Or I don't know. Timmy says, I don't dance, which is totally fair enough. Everyone expresses themselves differently. And now, as I wrap up, I'm going to say over to you. What are you up to? You can share bottomly if you want to. I am going to do some packing, head over to Norwich. Um, yeah, wander around, and that's going to be me today. Tomorrow is a show called Dicini, and I will be there. I will try and do a very short stream between 9:30 and 11. I apologize that if it's a little bit early or a little bit late. Um, Actually, you know what? I'm going to probably try and do it a few minutes early and then finish it up a couple of minutes after 10, because it is a show. I am there just on my own, and so I do want to keep up my tradition of streaming, but I might stream like 10, 20 minutes early. We will see. That is what I am up to, getting ready to go to Norwich to take part. Um, yes, exactly. It's not too far, about an hour by train, which is very close, and mm, yeah, not much more to say about that. It's a really good convention. Thank you very much, James. Yes, what I love about Daicini is that it's free entry. It feels more like a market. For me as a trader, it's very cheap. It's, I want to say, £25 next year. I think that if I was still in the same position with all my busy bargain bags, and if I could get someone to come over and help me all day, I would consider asking for two tables rather than just one, and seeing if they're okay with that. Because, especially with my new game, a game about drawing creatures, complementing the drawings, and complementing the complements, that feels like, that's a thing that I can leave some people on their own. And now I'm starting to have slower games I can, but yeah, I love it. I tend to do fairly well because my things are quite light, and the busy bargain bags, when they're fiver, someone coming in is probably fairly likely to spend it. And also I got my card machine working, which is exciting. So yay. Anyway, that's what I'm up to. Packing, having breakfast, going to Norwich, exploring, then sleeping relatively early so I can get up super early tomorrow. So to recap and wrap up before we finish up. To recap and wrap up, death happens. It's inevitable. Thank goodness we're here. Zoroastrians wear white to celebrate a life of someone who has now deceased. I don't be asking at a funeral where someone's from or whether they know the deceased. I mean, you can ask how you know the deceased. That is fair, but like that feels really it can I at best it can be misinterpreted as combative. Um Really, we don't know everything super well. I don't know everyone super well. I mean, if someone asked, "Do you know James?" I would like, again, like right now, if someone asked, "Do I know James K?" I would say yes, absolutely. But if it was at a funeral, I mean, God forbid, But if it was at a funeral and I someone asked me that, I would feel defensive, like I have to justify it, and I would think, "Do I really know you?" I mean, and I think now that I've kind of pondered it, I would say, "Yeah, I knew James, but not as well as some, I'm sure, but better than others." And I would then maybe say a few words about what kind of person you are and were in this hypothetical future. Again, God forbid, knock on wood. But yeah, the point is that we don't know everything super well, and it's okay to have some friends that you maybe meet once, and that's okay. Like, there's lots of people that have passed through my life, but I've had a positive impact on them. I hope they've had a positive impact on me. Like the person I met at Marseille who recognized me, and then I taught them to play Wibble, and then I caught a train. And if they asked, "Do you know Bez?" Like, if they were at the funeral, I imagine they would probably say, "No, not really, but we met that one time." But again, I don't want anyone at my funeral to be asking people if they know me. I think that's the thing. Not as well as I would like, and we have limited time for everything. And so I guess that's the thing. As sad as it is, we don't have infinite time. So we have to be okay with missing out on deepening our relationships. We have to be okay with not playing all the games. We have to be okay with knowing some people, but not as well as we would like. And yeah, I mean, speaking of which, yeah, I said on Twitter it would be lovely to come over. And, if you spend a day over at someone's place, then you get to know them a wee bit better than if you are just hanging out and playing games for an afternoon or whatever, but or snatches of conversation at a convention. But that's the thing. We won't know anyone as well as we'd like. There's not enough time to do everything. There's not enough time to get to know everyone. And that's it. I guess that's my final, yeah, message. So yeah, thank you everyone. If you want to check me out, I'm Stuff by Bez everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook.com/things by Bez. If you want to check out what my future streams will be, please check out my stuffbybez.com/streams, where you can see my schedule of things that I am streaming about and things that will impact the streams. So you can see that today is Daicini. I mean, tomorrow is Daicini. Monday will probably be a quick recap. Tuesday, there's no topics. Wednesday, I'll have Alan Paul on. Thursday, I'm going to have on Rob Butler, who does a lot of printing for me. And yeah, other than that, there's nothing really scheduled until Monday the 9th, when I'll have Naomi Robinson. But yeah, if you want to check 629 solo, if you want to suggest a topic or come on for a show, let me know. Share, spread the word. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being here to me. Thank you for that's lovely of you to say, Rob, and I understand that I might not see the jackdaw. Thank you for the commiserations. Thank you for the commiserations, James, who says, maybe at a funeral you get so many faces you don't know, and the only thing you have in common is that you knew the deceased. I mean, folk don't tend to go to funerals because it's a hobby. All I would say is I knew them as a friend a few years ago and maybe share a memory of two. And that is totally fair. It's totally fair to ask how you knew them, but I would assume that someone knows someone if they are at the funeral. I wouldn't ask, do you know them? Because, again, it feels a bit, yeah, at least for me, put me on the defensive. Anyway, it's not meant to be about that specific question. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, Timmy. And for lots of love once more. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye bye, bye bye, and now it's time to go. Bye bye, bye bye, life keeps going on. Bye bye, bye bye, and this is the goodbye song. Bye bye, bye bye, everything comes to an end. Bye bye, bye bye. But I'll hopefully see you tomorrow or another time, my friends. Bye bye. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye, Timmy. Bye bye, Rob. Bye bye, James. Bye bye.